All right, hello everybody. We are here with Wayne Cottrell, who is, for those of you that come to our office as a patient, he is the State Farm business just a couple doors down. We're happy to have him on the block, which is great. But being as a chiropractor now for many years, and definitely seen that over the past couple of years, the number of accidents that my patients will get into, not their fault, has just steadily gone up, and just realizing how unfortunately poor of coverage the majority of them have with their auto policies. I wanted to do a video after brainstorming with him a little bit just to kind of get some basics, because I don't really know all the technical stuff, and he does, but just knowing that surprisingly having the right auto coverage to be really protected is not nearly as costly as people think.
That's correct.
So, so for me, it kind of becomes one of those no-brainers, like with any insurance, where, of course, nobody wants to spend any money on insurance, but it's only ever a problem when you need to use it and you don't have what you need. Is of course with any type of insurance, like life insurance. Nobody wants to think about life insurance when they're my age, 32 years old, and everything is good. Nobody wants to think about that, but at the end of the day, though, there's people in their 30s and 20s and that die all the time. And if I did that, my family would have, not much for them to be left over. So just as an example. So one of the main things that we find for auto policies, that's the big issue, is something called MedPay or medical payments, and not having that. And that's a specific type of coverage that you have on your auto policy. So I'll let Wayne explain, specifically what it is, how you use it, what it's used for, and then why having the right amounts is a good idea.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Dr. Barnes. Always a pleasure to be here. It's an interesting society we live in at this point. You've got insurance carriers, or some out there have sort of created a commodity type environment where they want to strip down coverages and they want to give you the cheapest thing they can give you. Like Dr. Barnes was saying, you don't really know that you need something until something bad has happened. In the chiropractic world, or in the health insurance world, medical payments or MedPay is incredibly important. A lot of reasons why. So medical payments, what do? No one really knows what they do. It will cover you in the event of any type of vehicular accident. When I say any type, I mean it can be at fault, it can be someone else's fault. It carries with you if you're a passenger in someone else's vehicle. It carries with you if you are in public transportation. It carries with you if you're a pedestrian riding a bike. So anytime a vehicle is involved and medical treatment is sought after that event or that accident, you can use medical payments to help cover some of those costs. Medical payments they're going to cover things that sometimes traditional health insurance is not going to cover. Chiropractic care being one of those things. But it covers any possible out-of-pocket costs that you experience or incur as a result of the accident. It's dental care. It could be prosthetics. It can cover burial costs, God forbid, if someone died in a vehicular accident. And it's incredibly cheap to make sure you have those coverages. Excuse me. Right now with society, in addition to many folks not having the right coverages, we now have a lot of people with health insurance, which is awesome. The downside is most people can't afford their deductibles or their out-of-pocket costs. I don't know if you know, it's a pretty common statistic. Number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical bills. And interestingly enough, about 85% of people who file bankruptcy from medical bills have health insurance, which is it's very alarming. And it's all based around the fact that many people can't afford those large out-of-pocket co-insurances and deductibles. Medical payments can bridge that gap. It can really help you and keep your family safe and prevent financial issues and stress within the household.
So, and along with that, so I'll give a couple very specific examples. I had a patient one time who they were just driving, and a deer went across the road, hit the deer, and in a case where if you were hit by somebody else, of course there's someone that would be liable and at fault. Well, you can't sue a deer for hitting their car. So, luckily, she didn't have a lot of MedPay, but she had some MedPay that was able to help her recover from that injury. Or another, actually a common one would be when it's really a lot of stormy season, hydroplaning and losing control of your vehicle. Again, not someone's fault, not even your fault when that happens, but then you hit a guardrail or something, your car, you get knocked around from that. And it's just nice, again, when MedPay is there, but I've had people where they did that, MedPay didn't cover it, so they were then left to essentially, again, they're my patients, they knew about chiropractic, they had to pay more, essentially for more adjustments to kind of get back to just where they were even before the accident, so it just came out of their pocket, right, where it doesn't have to. So one other thing too that I love about MedPay, and this is from my patient's perspective, when the accident is not your fault, so let's say you're sitting at a stoplight, somebody runs into you, and there's their fault clearly, and everybody, witnesses and police reports. So obviously the person that is liable, their insurance company will be, hopefully in a good case, just paying 100%. It doesn't always work that way, but the nice thing is that if they don't, so if they settle and they're giving you less than what your injuries were or whatever the case, well then MedPay can pick up the remainder of those bills. Or another nice thing about MedPay, and we do this frequently, is that you still submit your bills to the MedPay even if someone else is liable, and in a lot of cases there's a surplus, right, which can go towards either kind of fixing any other stuff that the car repair didn't cover, or maybe a couple missed days of work that you had because you were recovering from your injuries. So just kind of stuff to help sort of supplant any lost income or changes from that there too. So there's been cases where I've written people, and I received my payment for treatment and everything was taken care of, and I wrote them a check for $1,000, $2,000, even $5,000 that they were just able to use for whatever else they needed because the person's liable insurance covered it, but they also had MedPay, so it just we don't keep double, even though I'd like to, but we don't keep double. It just helps. It's just a nice cushion. Mm-hmm. And you were telling me a stat, which I didn't know the exact numbers, about the number of accidents that are happening now compared to even just a few years ago.
Sure. Let me back up and piggyback off of what you were just saying. So if someone else is at fault, the way it works is their insurance is supposed to be responsible for all of your damage, bringing you back whole again, covering the costs. If there's litigation involved, attorneys involved, or if someone's trying to get a settlement, you may not receive a check for
a year
6 months,
or 2,
a year, 2
right.
years, 3 years. And in the meantime, who has to cover the medical bills? You would have to. So what do you have to lean back on that's going to cover those large out-of-pocket costs? Medical payments will again would bridge that gap.
Get that cushion, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the other interesting piece about society is so you have many people that don't have the right coverages. They don't know what they have, or it's been stripped down to save money because that's what society is moving towards. And then you've got distracted drivers because of texting and driving. So you've got people that don't have enough coverage, and the number of accidents that we're seeing right now on the roads are staggering. We've got auto insurance rates are skyrocketing all across the country because the fatalities, the number of injuries during accidents, just the number of accidents in general. They're double what they were in 2010.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a recipe for disaster. You got high deductibles for your health insurance, you got minimal coverages, you got more likelihood to get in accidents. So you got to find some cost-effective ways to protect yourself financially and make sure you get the right care. So one thing I want to bring up is how inexpensive medical payments, the cost really is. And I just went through a breakdown of my personal policy. You can get up to $25,000 in medical payments. And medical payments, it covers anyone in your vehicle. So it's not a combined $25,000. It is, if Dr. Barnes is riding with me and I've got my wife and his wife in the back, we're going to lunch and I get into a car accident, it's $25,000 for me, for him, his wife, my wife. It's not a combined number. It's a pretty large, it's a large benefit.
Yeah.
So I personally have $25,000 on my auto insurance. It costs me about $3.50 a month to have that.
Yeah.
So you back that down to $10,000, it's going to cost you maybe $225-ish. You back it down to $1,000, which is what a lot of people have, either $1,000 or none. $1,000, that's $1 a month. So you're saying, $1.50, maybe $2 more a month, $3 more a month is going to get you
$24,000 more coverage.
$24,000 more dollars in coverage, but not just for you. Again, think about family out-of-pocket costs on medical insurance. My deductible is $7,500. Total family is $15,000. So if we have a major accident, And
you're forking out 15 grand before anything kicks in.
That's right. And then think about if I have to carry it over from one year to the next.
Right.
You got just a double whammy.
So I'm hearing this right, and this is why part of the reason why I do this, and I actually didn't even know it was that cheap. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's like 8 or 10, but yeah, it's the cost of like one latte a month, and like you can sleep that much better at night. This is the simplest way of putting it. So that's cheap. So
Super cheap.
Anything else you want to add specifically on that?
No, I just highly encourage everyone to take a look at their insurance policies. I don't care what insurance policy they have. Look at them and learn them and know what you have and what's covered.
Yeah, and I'll share my story. So I had basically just go on the internet, pick a car insurance thing, and granted, I mean, I had it since I was in school, so it just, not that that's an excuse, like, but anyways, I had it since school, and I didn't even know an agent or anything, like, I never met anybody from my company ever. I talked to him on the phone once, like, when I was in an accident, but, so he moved in next door, and I was like, all right, well, let me, there's a face to the company now, and State Farm, I don't think we mentioned that, but I think I tagged it in the post there. He works for State Farm, works for State, whatever. And so I went over there, and he was able to give me much greater coverage than I already have. He put on an umbrella policy and a bunch of other things for my business that now leaves me way more protected, and just all these other things for really roughly the same cost as what I was paying before. So I would highly encourage you, like you said, step number one is pull out your, the declarations page, is that what it's called?
Declarations page.
Declarations page, and just see what you have on there first, because I think most of you, after watching this, will be surprised that you either have 0 on MedPay or you have maybe 1,000, which now you'll realize how, I'll say, foolish that is, and that's my opinion. But I would also, too, then, come and meet with Wayne and anybody on his team, and they can look at it with you. They could, and the best case is you're not just walking out with an apples to apples type matched policy, if you will, but they're going to over deliver and help show you how there's even a better way to set your family up for safety and protection. And like I said, for me, it went up because I got way more coverage, but it did not go up nearly as much as what I would consider the value of the coverage that I have now, and the price of being able to have a good night's sleep and knowing that if God forbid something does happen, we're not likely to be trouble or having to dip into savings or do anything crazy to have to take care of that kind of stuff. So price of a good night's sleep, safety for the family is priceless, but in this case it's like $3 a month.
I mean, it's interesting. So people come in and we ask them, how did you get that coverage? And they have no idea.
Yeah.
Some
check some boxes on an online form.
Some insurance company gave it to them, or they got it off their parents' policies, or a friend told them. And then one of the biggest things they're always worried about are comprehensive and collision coverages. I mean, it's cool that we'll fix your car, but where are you really going to be the most financially open for long-term problems? Medical costs. If you have medical costs and it's not covered by your auto insurance, or you don't have enough liability, those are the two most important pieces to your auto insurance.
For sure. Yeah. Just for me personally, I actually consider my auto cover, like my medical coverage, more important than my private health insurance, because for me, I do everything possible in my life to prevent disease and sickness and all those things. So I'm actually not worried about something like disease or anything. I mean, I'm not saying I'm living stupidly or arrogantly, but I would be worried about something that's out of my control, and a 17-year-old new driver that's taking selfies on her phone while she's driving 70 miles an hour down I-440, and then we hit some traffic and you get plowed in from behind. That's something I can't control. So for me, I think spending the money on stuff that you can't control is the most important thing you could ever do, and then you take responsibility over all the other areas of your life that you can control, and that's just, my opinion, the best way to live. So how can people, other than of course walking in, right? I'm sure you'd rather do appointments, but if we're together 2 doors down, but how can people get in touch, or if they're interested, kind of start the process, as far as the first just meeting with you or your team?
Yeah, sure. So it's pretty easy. My website is myagentwayne.com. Pretty catchy. So myagentwayne.com, and my email is wayne@myagentwayne.com. So you can Google Wayne Cottrell and State Farm or Wayne Cottrell Raleigh, and I'll pop up. My website will be available.
Cool. And I'll put that in the comments section underneath those for those of you that are watching this after the fact that we're done recording. So awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Everybody else have a great weekend. And
Happy Friday.
If you have any questions on that, I can help from my end. I'll do my best. But this guy's an expert and they know what they're doing. So peace out.